Hello, good morning, and welcome. Welcome to Heart of the Author, Season 3. I can't even believe that here we are. It's already Season 3, which is amazing. Okay, we have people coming in the room with us. If you would like to join us in the room, that is totally welcome. The Zoom link is in the email that you should have received if you're registered. We're also going to drop it right now in the Facebook group if you care to join us live. This is also being streamed into the Facebook group, so you can tune in there. This morning, I'm going to introduce what we're up to, and I'm going to go through what's called a live transmission, which is me expressing what this is all about. What are story codes? What is Heart of the Author? What is all this language that I'm referring to? And I'm going to introduce what the day is all about. And then we have the schedule posted in the Facebook group, also in the email that went out. And it's going to be a really amazing day full of excitement. And I can't wait to share everything with you. Good morning, Melissa. Good morning, Arden. If you're here live, say hello. If you're watching the replay, you can comment in the Facebook group with a hashtag replay. We have a full day, and I couldn't be more excited to bring this forward to you. So first, I'll share a little bit about what to expect for the day. Then we're going to do a little grounding exercise, and then I'm going to follow through with the transmission. So what is Heart of the Author? Well, this came to me in a dream, as most things do for me, one season when I thought, why don't we have an event to showcase all of our authors, bring everyone together, and share the incredible potency of the work that our authors are putting into their books? And it's great when we have books that are launching and there's a lot of excitement and it reaches bestseller status, and our authors are mostly business owners, so they have their own platforms, they're doing podcasts, they have all kinds of things. But there wasn't really a place where we could showcase the work that goes into the book to an audience who maybe doesn't know these incredible authors, especially not the way I do as their publisher on a personal level. So that was the intention behind Heart of the Author. Most of my authors, arguably all of our authors, are artists. Their books are so much more than books. These are not your average book club books. These are powerful, transformational works of art. And this is my way of bringing that forward for all to get to know these incredible humans, for all of us to share our gifts and our art and our heart. So that's what Heart of the Author is. This is season 3. If you are new here, welcome. You can go back in the Facebook group and to the guide section and in your Kajabi portal, which when you registered, you would have received access to. All of the replays from the previous seasons are there as well, and all of the replays from this season will be there also. So that is the vibe today. It is casual. You can tune in. You can come in live if you have questions for certain authors. If you just want to watch the replays, you can absolutely do that. We'll be posting after Heart of the Author when these authors' books come out. Most of our authors will have freebies for you. They'll have invitations for you to come into their spaces. It is really a way for you to connect with these humans. So if you're new here, welcome. Go ahead and watch the previous seasons on your own time. And if you've been here a while, thank you for sticking around, and welcome to season 3. So today, I personally am going to talk about something called story codes. And it's a body of work that I've been building for a while now. And it really is the art and the science of self-authorship. So a little bit about me. I have 2 master's level degrees in different forms of psychology. I have the credentials to be a psychotherapist. However, I don't necessarily agree with traditional mental health support and medicine. So I came up with a process that really supports self-authorship. And what is self-authorship? It is really the process of rewriting narratives. So it combines a lot of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which I'm also certified in. It also brings in other forms of psychology, human psychology, developmental psychology, and writing. Because I really believe like my solace, my escape is my journal. It's my Substack. It's how I work on myself. It's my personal development. It's my healing. And I know there's so much medicine within our own words and our own stories. And that's what I've been calling story codes. So it's essentially a framework based on art and science that brings together the framework to support you in rewriting the narratives that we've been taught. And oftentimes, as we work through the shame and the guilt and the things that we experience as humans and as women, it helps us bring forward these stories and realize that what happened to us, yes, it also happened for us, but it also happened for the world. And it allows us to not just share our truth with people around us, like in talk therapy, but to really share our story with the world. So we can bring forward our entire journey, often in the form of a book, which is how I came to be a publisher, a coach for authors, authority coach. And my purpose in this world, my purpose in life is really to help women, specifically, I work with women, to bring their stories forward and not be something that happened to them and sit around in our trauma, but really to turn that into our greatest intellectual property. So I'm going to start with a question. Who authored the person you became? And you can write this down if you have a pen, or I can wait if you want to go get one, or you can type it, whatever feels aligned for you. But I really want you to sit for a moment and think about this. Who authored the person you became? Really? Who wrote the first drafts of you? Was it your mother, your father, your teachers, kids at school, maybe religion, culture, an industry, the internet, the person that broke your heart, the person that harmed you, the person who told you that you were too much or not enough, or perhaps the person who made you believe you would never be enough? Because long before most of us ever think about becoming the authors of our own lives, we are already being authored. We enter this world without language at all, let alone language for who we are. And then the world starts handing us words. Good girl, difficult, pretty, smart, sensitive, dramatic, successful, broken, gifted, fat, thin, loud, emotional, ambitious, sexual, not sexual, easy to love, hard to love. And eventually, when we hear these things enough, we stop recognizing it as someone else's language and we believe it to be our identity. This is where self-authorship begins. Before a book, before the brand, before a stage, before authority, before any of it, there is authorship. And before authorship, there is awareness. The willingness to ask, who wrote this? Is this actually mine? Or have I simply been living inside a story somebody else handed me? I hear this all the time with people. Oh, well, I should do this. And, I went to school for this, and this is my path, and this is what I am supposed to be doing. And this is what, it's my parents did this, and my grandparents did this, and this is just the way it is. But there is something that I call the story beneath the story. So I've spent a significant part of my life being professionally reflected upon. So I look back, and when I was 13 years old, I became a model, which sounds equal parts glamorous and effed up, because it is. I traveled the world. I stood on some of the world's greatest runways. I sat in makeup chairs. I went to castings where strangers literally examined my face and body and decided, sometimes within seconds, whether I was valuable to them. whether my body and face would make money for them, because in the modeling industry, they also take like 40 to 75% of my earnings. So I didn't even get to keep everything that I earned. There's also something fascinating that happens when you are repeatedly evaluated through someone else's eyes. You become skilled at seeing yourself from the outside. You learn angles. You learn what photographs well. You learn how to become a reflection that someone else is looking for. And I became very good at that. And we see this everywhere. We see this in social media. We see this in career paths. We see this in school. We see this in hierarchy. We see it like everywhere. The strange thing is that when you become a beautiful reflection of everyone else's expectations, you completely lose sight of yourself. I didn't have this language then. I didn't know anything about self-authorship. I didn't know that there were stories being written into my nervous system, my body, my relationships, my ambitions, my future. I simply thought, this is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to be. But that distinction matters because there is a profound difference between this happened to me and this is who I am. I want that to land for a second. There's a profound difference between this happened to me and this is who I am. One describes an experience while the other turns that experience into an identity. And humans are meaning-making creatures. Yes, we are. We don't simply experience things. We interpret them, we organize them, we connect them, we create narratives around them. Our brains are constantly trying to answer, what does this mean? What does this say about me? What should I do next? What should I avoid? Who do I need to become in order to survive here? And that part is the science of story. Narrative isn't decoration. Story isn't some fluffy thing humans invented for entertainment. Story is one of the fundamental ways we make sense of being alive. Memory itself isn't a perfect recording. We reconstruct it. We select details. We emphasize some moments and minimize others. We create coherence. And over time, those interpretations become the internal narratives through which we experience the next chapter. The story begins interpreting the world for us. Are you still with me? So let's talk about the invisible author. This is why I became fascinated with psychology. Now in hindsight, I've recognized this is why I went on that path. You know, I didn't just study for 20 years for no reason, because that would be one of those moments where you question everything. Like, why did I spend decades studying human behavior, development, trauma, language, neuroscience, and various therapeutic modalities, and then stop and not use that education formally? Eventually, I became equally fascinated by where psychology stopped, because understanding what happened to us matters, but understanding survival responses matters more. Understanding trauma matters, but what we do with those traumatic experiences matters more. I became increasingly interested in another question. What do we do with what happened? What if our experiences contain more than wounds? What if they also contain information, perspective, wisdom, pattern recognition, language, art, leadership, service? So this is what I've come to call story codes. A story code is the meaning, wisdom, or human truth encoded inside our lived experience. And I don't mean bypassing pain. I don't mean pretending something terrible was secretly wonderful and like we're all rainbows and gumdrops. And I don't mean slapping purpose onto suffering so that we don't have to feel it. There is a difference there. Some things should have never happened. Some things are completely unjust. Some things hurt so deeply that it's not just getting over it or finding a different meaning for it. I understand that and I value that. Pain is pain. Grief is grief. There's no comparison of whose story is more traumatic and therefore more worthy, and all that stuff goes out the window here. I refuse to believe that the people and systems that hurt us get to retain authorship over those experiences and what they ultimately mean. That part belongs to us. That is self-authorship. That is the reclamation of narrative authority. What happened to us happened for us, comma, and for the world. The comma matters. For the world matters, because when we transcend an experience, when we metabolize it, interrogate it, make meaning from it, there's often something that there is no textbook for, not something a textbook could have ever taught us, a code, something learned through living it. And once we can name that code, we can amplify it outward through the way we parent, through the way we lead, the way we build businesses, the boundaries we create, the conversations we start, the art we make, the books we write. Our lived experience becomes intellectual property. Not intellectual property merely in the legal sense, like TM and registration. Human intellectual property, a perspective that exists because you lived it. The art of self-authorship. And this is where the science meets the art, because you are both the character and the author. You inherited material you didn't choose, a body, a family, a culture, a particular moment in history, experiences, losses, privileges, traumas, desires, relationships, contradictions. You don't get to rewrite the facts, but you do get to participate in what those facts mean. That's the art. Self-authorship is not rewriting history. It is changing your relationship to history. It's moving from why did this happen to me toward what lives here. What did it teach me? What belief did I form here? Is it true? What did I learn to silence? What did I learn to perform? What did I abandon in order to belong here? What keeps repeating? What am I uniquely able to see because I lived this? And perhaps more importantly, what wants to be created from it? Those are story code questions. Your story is larger than your trauma. I also want to say something important about trauma, because we have become incredibly fluent in the language of trauma. Everyone and their sister is trauma informed. And I think that has given us something valuable. We have language previous generations didn't have. We have diagnoses that previous generations didn't have. We have a lens to which we can understand ourselves more. But sometimes I wonder whether we have accidentally become better at identifying our wounds than identifying our wisdom. We know our attachment styles, our triggers, our patterns, our diagnoses, our childhood wounds, our nervous system responses, all of that. We have a language for it and we understand this language, but do we know our codes? Do we know what all that living has taught us truly? Do we know what we know that we could have not known in any other way? I'm deeply interested in this territory, the place beyond simply naming what happened, the place where we ask what can now be authored. Because healing to me isn't erasure. I don't want to erase the girl I was. I don't want to pretend certain chapters didn't happen. I don't want a pristine manuscript of my life. I don't want the crossed out sentences, the coffee stains, the pages we almost tore out, the chapters we swore we would never let anyone read, because sometimes those are precisely the pages holding those codes. And then there's the through line. When I work with women on their stories, I'm often listening for what I call the through line, which is the pattern beneath the plot, because your story isn't simply chronology. I was born, then this happened, then I got married, then I started a business, then I wrote a book. That's autobiography. Story lives underneath chronology. Story asks what has been trying to reveal itself through all of this. When I look back at my own life, things that once seemed completely disconnected begin speaking to one another. It's like a constellation of stars. The modeling industry, the body image, eating disorders, drama, the psychology, the trauma, motherhood, publishing, voice alchemy, helping women, starting a charity, writing books, all the authority pieces. For years, I thought I was like losing my mind because it felt like I consistently reinvented myself like every year. Now I know I was moving closer to something with these codes. So who gets to define a woman? Who gets to tell her what she's worth? Who gets to decide what part of her stories are acceptable or unacceptable? Who gets to decide whether her voice belongs in a room? Who gets to edit her? Who gets to publish her? Who gets to be her author? Suddenly, my life doesn't look like a collection of random stuff, careers and experiences. There is a through line. There always was. I just didn't have language for it yet. And I suspect there's one running through your life too. So I want you to think, what are the stories that we repeat? What story have you repeatedly told yourself? Maybe it's, I'm bad with money. I'm too much. I always choose the wrong relationships, the wrong people. I'm not disciplined. Nobody listens to me. I'm behind. I'm too late. I missed my chance. I'm terrible at writing. I'm not creative. I have to always be the strong one. I can't ask for help. I have to do everything myself. I'm just not that kind of person. Don't try to make everything positive. Just become curious, blah, 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 blah. Who authored that sentence? Where did you first learn it? What experiences became evidence for it? What experiences have you excluded because they contradict it? And what has made the story possible or impossible in your life? Because every story creates a world. If I believe I am powerless, I make different decisions. If I believe my voice is dangerous, I speak differently. If I believe visibility leads to rejection, I hide. If I believe love must be earned, I perform. The story becomes the behavior creates evidence, evidence reinforces the story, and suddenly something written decades ago, maybe not even in this lifetime, is still quietly authoring today's chapter. So self-authorship interrupts that cycle and it puts the pen back into your hands. So I often focus on reclamation. And I use the word reclamation often because it isn't about becoming someone new. It's about recognizing what was yours before the world named it for you, your voice, your knowing, your desires, your creativity, your authority, your story, maybe even your quirkiness and your weirdness, especially that. Self-authorship asks us to become intimate with ourselves, to stop outsourcing the interpretation of our own lives. And this is important. Self-authorship does not mean we control everything. We don't. Life will continue writing plot twists without consulting us. I promise. People will leave, bodies will change, plans will collapse, beautiful things will happen that we could have never engineered. There will always be mystery because authorship isn't about control. It's about participation. It's about the decision to remain in relationship with yourself, to refuse unconscious narration, and to say, this happened. This is what I believed it meant. This is what I understand now. And this is what I choose to create from here. So your story codes will leave you with 4 questions. You don't need to answer them right now. Take them home, write about it, journal about it, sit with it for the next few days. Question 1, what story about yourself have you mistaken for fact? Question 2, who or what originally authored it? Question 3, what wisdom, perspective, or capacity exists in you because of what you have lived? And finally, question 4, who wants to be authored through you now? A book may be part of that answer, but self-authorship is bigger than writing a book. You are authoring every day with what you tolerate, with what you choose, with what you say, with what you no longer say, with what you create, with what you teach your children, with the relationships you remain in and the ones you leave, with the work that you bring to the world, your passion, your purpose, with the stories you repeat about yourself, and with the stories you finally decide to retire. So in front of you is a blank page. I think this is why I really, truly love books so much, because a blank page is one of the most honest things in the world. It doesn't care who you were yesterday. It doesn't care what your mother called you. It doesn't care what the industry said you were or weren't, what your ex called you, what your diagnosis is, what labels or letters you have before or after your name, what the rejection letter said. It waits and it asks, what do you want to say now? There's something so sacred about that, because perhaps life works similar. We cannot tear out every previous chapter, nor should we. They're part of our manuscript. But there is always a page we haven't written yet. And that's where self-authorship begins. When we stop trying to become someone without a past and realize that the past itself contains material, codes, wisdom, evidence, medicine, art. Your story has been speaking to you this entire time, through patterns, through ruptures, through things you survived, through things that you love, through things that keep returning to you, through the subjects you cannot stop talking about, through the injustice that makes you furious, through the beauty that brings you to tears, through the work that you feel strangely compelled to create. Pay attention. There are codes there. What happened to me? What has my life been trying to teach me? And what am I finally ready to author? Because you are more than the character in your story. You are its witness, its interpreter, its artist, its heart, its authority. And from this page forward, its author. Thank you. I'm going to open the floor for any questions. Otherwise, I will leave you with that. We have such a powerful lineup for today. I'm so excited. Up next, we have Gianna, who's going to be walking us through an exercise in reflection and meeting ourselves. We have, who else do we have? We have so many, it's such an incredible lineup. We've got Dana Shalit, we've got Vanessa Grutman, we've got Nia Oak, we've got Wanda Santos Haynes, we've got like just the greatest lineup of incredible people. And I can't wait for you to meet them all and experience their medicine and their magic today. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'm so excited for what's to come. That's worth multiple replays. So much deep wisdom to sit with. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you.